Some news away from the pandemic. We've got a new book that offers revelations about the battle between Jeffrey Epstein and the lawyer defending dozens of his accusers. In Relentless Pursuit, My Fight for the Victims of Jeffrey Epstein, Brad Edwards describes his decade-long psychological struggle with the wealthy financier who later died in jail, facing sex abuse charges. First on CBS This Morning, I spoke to Edwards about his secret meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. For most of their nearly 11-year legal battle, Brad Edwards fought Jeffrey Epstein in the courtroom. But in 2015, Edwards says Epstein suddenly started reaching out personally by phone.
It was always his idea to speak. I never had his phone number. He would call me and his phone would come up mysteriously, all zeros on my cell phone.
He says Epstein asked to meet at this Starbucks in Boca Raton, Florida, starting a series of secret rendezvous.
The early meetings were him trying to figure out a way to, in his words, divorce from me, cause me to stop prosecuting him. We were at the corner table right outside Starbucks when he leaned over and said to me, Brad, if you keep pursuing me this way, somebody's going to get hurt.
Edwards had been after Epstein since 2008, when a client named Courtney Wild first came to him.
I know that I wanted Jeffrey in jail, but that was all I knew.
Wild says she was recruited by Epstein in 2002, at age 14.
I was in middle school. I was the summer from 8th to 9th grade.
Wild grew up in a Florida trailer park just miles from Tony Palm Beach, where Epstein lived. She was driven here to his home, paid $200 to massage him, and then asked to recruit other young girls.
I've always wanted answers, like why they felt like they could just sexually abuse so many young girls and get away with it.
How many young women do you think went through Jeffrey Epstein's houses?
I think that you could be talking about 500 women that he abused. Jeffrey Epstein molested dozens of children.
Edwards would represent more than 30 of them and lead the legal assault. In the end, what do you think motivated Jeffrey Epstein?
Power, control. That's it. His recruitment of vulnerable people for him to take advantage of sexually was all a power trip. That is what drove him, that he was the king of the chessboard. Every room I was ever in with him, he thought he was the smartest, and he was going to immediately prove it.
Epstein boasted of powerful friends, including Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and Harvey Weinstein, who Edwards says was once a guest at Epstein's Paris apartment.
Harvey Weinstein attempted to sexually assault one of Jeffrey Epstein's main girls. Epstein got mad about it and got in a major blowout with Harvey Weinstein and kicked him out of the place. And in Jeffrey's words, kicked him out of the country and never talked to him again.
Epstein, Edwards writes, referred to Harvey as a pig. Imagine that. While Epstein wooed Edwards, he also allegedly kept watch on him. How did you know you were under surveillance?
I saw the same car following me. It wasn't like somebody was hiding. It was meant for me to know.
Epstein countersued the Florida lawyer, accusing him of malicious prosecution. When Edwards lost an early round in that suit, he says he was at risk of owing Epstein's legal fees, $10 million.
When he realized he could do that, he called me and said, hey, look, it will bankrupt your entire family. Back off.
Why didn't you?
One, I'm very competitive. Two, my clients.
Me and Brad kind of made a pact that we were going to be in it to the end.
In May of last year, at the Starbucks in Boca Raton, Edwards says he and Epstein met for what would be the final time.
You could tell he was just in a different frame of mind, nervous, paranoid, and it made me a little uneasy, thinking he may actually know that there's an investigation brewing behind his back.
2 months later, Epstein was arrested by federal agents and charged with sex trafficking. In August, he died in prison. What, if anything, scared him?
Jail. He was only scared by losing his freedom.
So you don't believe that he was killed in prison?
No, he committed suicide. There's no doubt in my mind.
You write that you struggled with Epstein's death. How so?
I felt like after 10 years of doing battle with him, I got to know him so well, it wasn't he should die this way. The victims were deprived, I was deprived, and it also just feels like he left laughing.
Edwards and Epstein settled their lawsuit in 2018. As part of the settlement, Epstein publicly apologized, admitting the charges he brought against Edwards were an unreasonable attempt to damage the attorney's reputation. We'd like to note Edwards' book is published by Gallery Books, an imprint of Simon & Schuster, which is a division of Viacom CBS. Gail, of course, this continues to go on, this case. They are attempting to create a fund for the victims from the estate, but that's an ongoing legal battle.
Boy, Anthony, that story was fascinating on so many levels to me. Number one, I find it interesting that Brad Edwards is so convinced that he committed suicide when so many people do not think Jeffrey Epstein took his own life. And number two, I sat here asking Kent and the camera person, how did they shoot that interview? Could you please give us a brief explanation? Because you're in your office. I don't know where he was. You're clearly having a conversation together. How did you guys do that?
We had a lot of help, Gail. I shot it here in my home, and we got him to sit outside so the crew could be far enough away from him. But we wanted to get a really nice audio, and the crew did a very nice job.
Yeah. It was very, very, very well done. Very well done. And also interesting. And when he said to you that Epstein said to him, if you keep pursuing me, somebody's going to get hurt. That's very ominous. Also scary.
He took it as a threat. Brad Edwards took that as a threat.
Mm-hmm. Was a threat.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. It's clear that more than just Jeffrey Epstein's life was lost when he died in prison. A full accounting of what happened was lost as well. It's a very, very powerful piece, and it's how we do journalism in the age of coronavirus.